The Redmi Note 12 Discovery Edition, also known as the Explorer Edition, is basically a Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus with a whopping 210-watt charger and a smaller battery. Now this is the phone that we're going to be taking a close look at in today's video. Hey guys, Ash here from C4E Tech and let's get started. So first let's start with the unboxing, and this is a pretty standard Redmi box. There's nothing really super special about it. Opening it up, as always, we are greeted by this white little insert with a Redmi logo, inside which we find a SIM ejector tool and a quick start guide alongside a soft TPU case. Setting it aside, we next have the Redmi Note 12 Discovery Edition itself. This phone looks and feels pretty similar to the Redmi Note 11T Pro. We have a glass sandwich design with a plastic frame. It doesn't feel too heavy. While there's still no support for microSD, Redmi have retained the headphone jack, the IR remote, and stereo speakers. The fingerprint scanner, it remains built into the power key, though Redmi has gone back to using an OLED panel here. Now talking about the OLED panel, this is a flat 6.67-inch display with a Full HD Plus resolution and 120Hz refresh rate. This also happens to be a 10-bit panel with support for HDR10 Plus and Dolby Vision. It feels very similar to what we got with the Redmi Note 11 Pro last year. So it should be good for media consumption. The speakers, they seem loud, the audio quality is fine. And just like with that phone, we still get IP53 water and dust resistance, so a few splashes here and there, they shouldn't create a big issue. Anyway, coming back to the box, we have a USB Type-C to Type-C cable with yellow accents. This one has an eMark chip to enable 210-watt charging. And yes, the 210-watt charger, it's included in the box. So with this, Redmi is now the first brand to the market with a phone that supports 200 plus watts of charging. So the claim here is that in just 5 minutes, you can get up to about 66% and 0 to 100 in 9 minutes flat. Now that is insane. It's also worth noting that this charger here, it has support for 65-watt power delivery. So say you have an Ultrabook, you don't need to lug around an extra charger. Talking about laptops, let me take a minute to give a quick shout out to our video sponsor. Gigabyte G5 is a gaming-focused laptop powered by NVIDIA's RTX 30 series GPUs. The powerful graphics alongside Gigabyte's WindForce cooling system on a 15.6-inch display with a 144Hz refresh, it makes for an excellent gaming experience. The backlit keyboard and trackpad are also great, and DDSX Ultra support is just icing on the cake. Despite the display being 15.6 inches, the overall form factor, it remains comparable to laptops with smaller displays. It's quite portable. Gigabyte also offers a host of storage options. The G5 comes with not one but two M.2 slots, and additionally there's even a 2.5-inch swappable bay. So if you want to throw in an inexpensive high-capacity hard disk just so you get to have a lot of games installed or maintain a huge media file catalog, well, this could be useful. To know more about the Gigabyte G5, check out the link in the description below. Coming back from charging, let's move on to another area where Redmi is impressed, on paper at least, and that's got to be with the camera. We get a triple camera setup to the back. As always, let's ignore the third 2-megapixel macro sensor, the secondary. It's an 8-megapixel ultra-wide, which is pretty decent. It gets the job of fitting more into the frame, done with colors being pretty similar to the primary. But this primary, now this is a huge highlight of this phone. This here's a Samsung sensor, the ISOCELL HP-X. It's a 1x1.4-inch sensor with a mammoth 200-megapixel resolution. It's paired with an optically stabilized f1.65 lens. By default, it opts for 16:1 binning, so you get 12.5-megapixel photos, which are the images that you've been seeing so far. As you can see, they seem well detailed with good colors and excellent dynamic range. Now, if you want to shoot higher resolution, you can jump into the Ultra HD mode, which lets you shoot 200 megapixels or 50 megapixel shots. Do note that the file sizes, they do go up a lot. The default 12.5 megapixel images, they are about 3.5 megabytes. The 50 megapixel ones, they are more than double that, 7.5 to 8 megabytes. And the 200 megapixel ones, they are huge, 25 to 30 MB. Personally though, if you ask me, I'd say 50 megapixels is the sweet spot. Like, see this image. Nice, right? Let's zoom into that board here. This was a 12.5 megapixel shot. Now, I shot the same scene with Ultra HD 50 megapixels, and as you can see, there is a marked difference here. Now, once again, I shot the same scene with the 200 megapixel option enabled. Yes, there is a little more detail here, but it is not that huge a jump. It doesn't really feel, it's not that noticeable. Now, this is another example. 12.5 megapixels and then the 50 megapixel mode, and there is a noticeable difference. Now when we look at the same zoomed in shot at 200 megapixels, not that much. So it seems like jumping to 200 megapixels might not be beneficial in a lot of use cases, but the fact that we do get a lot more detail when shooting 50 megapixels means we can jump in and crop in post and still end up with a decent final image, which kinda sorta compensates for the absence of a telephoto camera. With video, the chip inside means we are restricted to 4K 30. That said, the footage does seem crisp, well detailed, and more importantly, stable. Now, talking about the chip on the inside, we get the Dimensity 1080 SoC here. Well, it just looks like a 8100 with the numbers out of order on paper. And I'm sure MediaTek or Redmi are gonna put some kind of marketing spin on this chip. The fact is, the 1080 is much weaker than the 8100, which is what was on the Redmi Note 11T Pro. In fact, it looks like it's pretty much the Dimensity 920 with a new name and maybe support for 200 megapixel sensors. Just look at the core split up, same as the 920. In fact, apart from the very minor 100 MHz boost to the Cortex A78 performance cores, everything else is identical. So if you're looking at this phone as an upgrade from the Redmi Note 11 Pro series, then yeah, it seems decent. But if you look at the Redmi Note 11T Pro series, then it actually feels like a huge downgrade. The Redmi Note 11T Pro, like I said, it's got the Dimensity 8100 SoC, which is a much better processor. It's a much better chip. And that kind of leaves me confused. Because the 11T Pro, it currently sells for 1569 RMB, while the 12 Pro starts at 1699. And the Discovery Edition, which is basically a Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus with a smaller battery but faster charging, that starts at 2399. Now let's assume the camera is amazingly better, but does it actually make sense to take that much of a hit with performance while actually paying more for the Redmi Note 12 Pro series? I mean, don't get me wrong, I like where Redmi is going with the charging technology, with the cameras, but to go backwards with performance, I know it's not just the chip, even the storage, we are back to UFS 2.2, unlike with the Redmi Note 11T Pro where we had UFS 3.1. This just feels wrong to me. I'd be lying if I said I am not disappointed. Anyway, I will talk more about this if I do end up reviewing this phone, which at this point seems unlikely. But you tell me in the meantime, what are your thoughts about the Redmi Note 12 Pro lineup, especially the Note 12 Discovery Edition? Is this a phone you can see yourself getting? Do you think Redmi should have gone with at least a Dimensity 8100 on this? Leave a comment down below. And with that, we are at the end of today's quick little unboxing video. Thumbs up, thumbs down based on whatever you felt about it. Also, subscribe and turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon if you haven't yet. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4E Tech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.